imagine you're sitting in the doctor's office here in California and you've just been diagnosed with Lyme disease. So you might be thinking, what the heck, how did this even happen? And it's actually an interesting question, so let's walk through the steps. So first of all, you needed to have been bitten by a tick. And not just any tick, but specifically you needed to have been bitten by the western black-legged tick. Here in California, that's really the only species of tick that can both carry the Lyme disease bacteria and that readily bites humans. All right, so 1, you needed to have been bitten by this western black-legged tick. 2, this tick needed to have already been carrying the Lyme disease bacteria. So ticks aren't born infected with the Lyme disease bacteria themselves. So in order for them to get infected, they have to pick it up from somewhere out in the world. And in California, that somewhere out in the world usually refers to an infected mouse or an infected wood rat. But here's the crazy plot twist, is that in California, these western black-legged ticks, they really, really prefer to bite the western fence lizard, which is these blue-bellied lizards you may have seen around. But the interesting thing is that these blue-bellied lizards cannot at all carry the Lyme disease bacteria. So meaning that any tick that bites a lizard, there's a 0% chance that it's going to get infected. So if it bites you after that, you definitely cannot get Lyme disease. All right, so you might be thinking, okay, so if the ticks really prefer to bite these lizards and the lizards are clearing them of the Lyme disease bacteria, how in the world do we even have Lyme disease out in California? It's a good question, and for that we need to look inside the tick. So ticks, similar to us, have a microbiome, and by that I mean they have this internal community of microbes it's mainly bacteria, but can also be virus and protists and whatnot. And so similar to us, this microbiome helps them in terms of getting the nutrients that they need from food and fighting off infection. But the interesting thing is that their microbiome looks totally different when they fed on a lizard versus when they fed on a mouse. So what we found is when a tick is fed on a lizard, it kind of gets a whole clearing of its microbiome. So not everything is gone, but it's a much more sparse microbiome, as opposed to when a tick is fed on a mouse, it's able to maintain a much more prolific and diverse and abundant microbiome. Okay, so fun fact, but why does that even matter? This starting microbiome that a tick now has moving forward, we found is actually hugely important on whether or not the tick can pick up Lyme disease in its next blood meal. So what we did is we took ticks from these 2 groups and fed them on an infected mouse. And what we found is that these ticks that originally fed on lizards, they were much more able to pick up the Lyme disease bacteria than these ticks that originally fed on mouse. So you might be confused now, like I just said that the lizards were great, they killed the Lyme disease bacteria, but now they're actually making the ticks more able to pick up Lyme disease. And that's right, it actually seems like these lizards are serving as a double agent, that they're kind of priming these ticks in terms of changing their microbiome and somehow making them now more able to pick up Lyme disease in the future. Sorry, I'm totally blinking now. Okay, I'm going to end it there. We can edit that.